these people. So once you get their feedback, you'll have a model which will probably work. I mean, you could slightly tailor your model to suit the climate, to suit the requirements. But I've got a panel colleagues here who could add.
Yeah, because this is something that we do successfully or otherwise. Because we've got, as I said, close to 20,000 students we train across the country. Yes, I would endorse what Vivek just said. You just have to probably be a little more persistent. Probably limitations that I might see on your side. I don't know about the sales force side that you have. We have a huge sales force which goes around the country meeting a lot of people. We connect with employers. We understand, ask what they need. We try to focus on those skills. So it is a combination of bringing the employers in, not guaranteeing employment, but bringing them in so that if they check, test based on their assessment models combined with our assessment models, that the university sees value in us bringing in XYZ training so that the kids get employed. Because that is proof of the pudding for universities, for students. And that makes them also happy. They know that the kids will finally get employed. So largely, I think it will be a model of getting the employers in, addressing them, bridging that gap.
I think there is a responsibility cut, which I think you're questioning the responsibility cut. We in the industry feel that this is not a responsibility to train. The college should do the job. So many times industry ends up doing and paying for what the college should have done. And that's what you're suffering from. And that's what happens when a new college comes in, it again shifts. The college gets mature, they start investing into it, they start working closely with the industry pays for it, and college pays for it. And like they buy something and we start coming together. But a new college comes in and again it distresses out. And traditionally we have not been, the industry suffers for years and years. Industry pays for so much which a college should have paid, the academics should have taken. Like our own engineering colleges, where were we to? What we learned then, nothing was related from industry taught us. But all we learned in the industry should have been taught by our colleges. So it's been traditionally, it's improving, I would say, as Vivek and Harish said. Yeah, please. Yeah, that's right.
I couldn't get your name, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think the problem is, I think, simpler than, the way we are going about it. How long is the training?
My training can range, I had workshops.
Well, how long is your workshop?
It takes about a week and goes out for a month.
So I think the best thing is, if you're so confident about a product, give a test drive of one day. Simple. Either the college will pay or the students will pay.
No, I believe it will be interesting.
So the point is, when we are so confident at times that our product or service is good, but the adoption is taking time, the best thing is to give a small test drive. I mean, otherwise it takes a lot of time on people and analytics and so many things.
Any other questions, please?
Question to you, sir.
Sorry.
Actually, to the entire panel. Like we just said, that you are training people, you are training the younger generation, or just out, like, maybe a few year older generation. For the companies, what their requirement is. What is our education system doing? Why aren't they doing it? Isn't it their responsibility? Why are we just sitting here and talking about it? Why aren't we making a difference?
Good question. No, absolutely, I agree with you. I mean, why are we sitting here and talking? The point is that the education system of India is something which was started in the 1850s. And the present form of this education system it's like a gigantic structure, very difficult to tailor or hold. Only new experiments are working. So instead of, so the government of India is coming up with the education bill and trying to make changes in the core education system. But newer experiments which are being added on by companies or by private sector, they are probably working quicker. So perhaps we need to do both. Instead of waiting for the education system to change, because it could take 10 years or 20 years before it catches up with what is required, and even then it's still running after what is required. An example which I quote many a time is that in the university system, if you want to change the syllabus of a particular course, there's a board of studies. Now that board of studies meets every year or whatever, and it takes about 3 years for a syllabus to be altered. In those 3 years, the requirement changes again. So you're always behind the time. So therefore, the education system really cannot cope with what is required. And these experiments and innovations are what will really give the answer.
And I can add to that. Of course, we've been complaining for years about what we just brought in. But I think the time, thanks to our Prime Minister, I really respect the gentleman, he thought about it in a much deeper way. And there's a very strong link between industry and institute. That aspect which we've been talking in today's seminar is shaping up now. You know, there are like 8,000 private ITIs which are being given to the private entrepreneurs. 8,000. In Chandigarh, both the ITIs are now adopted by people. To the ITI, the girl who used to come there cannot afford to pay more than $1 a month. Now that girl's employability was absolutely a question. What she's learning is not going to be employed by the industry at all. But now the industry adopts that place, puts her own program there, still the girl still pays $1. Industry brings its own teacher and does that. And employs, if it is 200 people, at least 150 of them get employable or gets employed. It's a proof data which is documented here. And who is paying for it? The Prime Minister office pays to that entrepreneur to run that place. Is that kind of incentivization has already happened? And thanks to the administration here, even after all that, they're saying, okay, we will pay for your internet, we'll pay for your all the infrastructure, we'll pay for the real thing. So everybody's like, what you said is, I think everybody's putting his own thing. The only thing that the ducks were not enrolled here. Now the ducks are getting a little bit better. They're all getting into some line. Some more traction has started happening. Because somebody at the vision level, at the top level, could throw in those 2-3 crore rupees per ITI to the then it starts flowing. So I think a lot is going on in that direction. A lot of improvement. I've seen that in the last 10 years back, the seminar when we talk about Institute-Industry Alliance, and industry has no clue what is going on. Today the industry is putting a lot of skin in the game. The institute is stepping out. I mean, we in industry, I do get calls from at least 2 or 3 institutes every now and then saying that we'd like to come and work with you, try to understand what your requirements are for the next 6 months, try to go and tweak our model, they call their finishing schools, whatever the word they call it now. But we don't care what they charge them, how they deal with us. But in the end of it, they're trying their level best. Their HR, their placement officers are making efforts to come and knock our doors, saying, please allow us, please get us a chance to get a few of our people into your company. Which was missing earlier. Just totally previously it was like, we are looking at something else, they are talking about something else, there's a huge gap still exists. But it's slowly reducing. I would say it's definitely there's a traction on that part. The one more question which you can take here was there are 3 more. Okay, let's take the last 3 ones. Okay, because he's waving at us for the lunch now. So lady here.
Mine is more of an observation that I could just add on and then observation. Dr. Nandini had a very relevant point, and that is something which you face every time you go and meet a new identity out there in market. The whole idea that we look at 2 cases. One is the corporate world and one is the institution who is trying to make value out of those models. What we can now do is in education systems especially is that we should give them a trial which is just a demo and a meaningful demo. The thing Mr. Vivek was saying, we just added a meaning to whatever we do. So if we can supply the meaning to the base level students and involve them and let them pay for their own training rather than making the institution pay for them. Very simple, it's just a random thought. Maybe coming to a conference room or a seminar room in their own college by just paying ₹15 is not a big issue for them. But only if you are giving them a reason, a meaning why they are there and they are convinced about it, I think it can work wonders in that context. And similarly, ma'am had a very relevant point. Why does the education system is in the pipeline of getting into training and modes like that? It's a proven fact that today education is a very commercial product, and in that commercial product, we tend to ignore the base level requirement. In that context, I again feel students have to be first trained as in what their requirement is out of that industry, than doing it vice versa. What we do is we try and train them according to the industry But I feel first we have to identify what they are made up of, and we have to train them to get into the respective fields in the most optimized manner.
Yeah, and I always admire the companies like Harish company, Aspire, and companies like NIIT, they've added a product, they're constantly innovating those products. Because the number of people who come from the colleges like Landra and these places, umpteen number of them go there. We always first thought, are they shops? Are they really going to be doing something? They pay whatever the amount, they pay really the top line money there. And then they're getting placed. There is industry which is going and saying, look, can you give us 30 GINE students today? And they say, oh, we don't have any more left out. So I'm saying it's a unique kind of a situation. So what I'm saying, to answer your question, when would you say that? There is an element of opportunity there. It's a huge amount of opportunity. How you pack it depends on the Spire, as someone said. To try to deal with them as another corporate, selling B2B sales, and see what you can bring really good work and separate.
Or actually, an answer to you also and to ma'am also. We are at a stage, when we just saw private colleges and universities coming up for the last few years. So the demand-supply story has been kind of disproportionate. So they could fill the seats as they wanted. But if you will see carefully anywhere in the world or any other field in our country also, wherever privatization happened, eventually it has to be survival of the fittest. If there were 14,000 engineering seats in Punjab and 10,000 and 14,000, let's say, takers were there, I think it's getting worse now. So eventually you will see so many capacities staying idle, and eventually they will have to tune their curricula or whatever so that the pass-outs are more and more employable. Because only one thing, the bottom line for any professional colleges, if the people are placed, only then the college runs. So I think time will take care of it. So rather than having more and more, I would say, public institutions, it is better that we are moving in the right direction. And few years down the line, I see a ray of hope that institutions will do the right thing.
Very quick question. The two questions are left. Yes,
This is for Mr. Rajesh. We talked about opening an institute to scale up people according to the market needs. So is it worth to have a training institute in-house to train people so that you can meet the market needs, or to hire people from outside?
That would depend on your requirement, because what is your requirement, how much can you absorb, and whether it makes sense to supply additional capacity that you are building to the market. So I think it's very commercial kind of a question. You can't answer that unless you have all the numbers in place. So, and the way I look at it is that first problem that we need to solve is that how do we bring in people? When for instance, when I was in Cork, and attracting people here in Chandigarh was not easy, and we were expanding very rapidly. So the thing that we did was that instead of just limiting ourselves to BEC or IITs, we started going to Maulana and other smaller engineering colleges which were spread out. And then we said, okay, what is that we are looking for? So we said, before we hire people, we want you to start certain courses, particularly in the publishing space. And then those who are interested in publishing, we would provide them training in-house. So we created a room in our building. And we said, okay, now some 20 students are going to undergo a 3-month training here. And it's a cyclical kind of a process. And then we started absorbing some of those guys. So we were not guaranteeing that we will absorb everybody. But we said that whoever we will absorb, and if there is additional, then they can go to Adobe or somewhere else, wherever. So they become far more employable. So that's the way you look at it. The rest depends, whether you should create an institution, training institution within, depends on your business model.